and I hugged him, and we both couldn't exchange a word. We were both just too kind of emotional. Everywhere you are, they look at you and they write and talk about it 24/7. So when you are walking in the paddock, when you are moving, but that they showed that it remains a very dangerous sport.
Bonjour à tous et bienvenue pour ce nouvel épisode de Cool Room. Aujourd'hui, on se retrouve dans un décor un petit peu particulier. Comme vous pouvez le voir, nous sommes à Monaco. Nous sommes dans les bureaux de l'ACM, l'Automobile Club de Monaco. Et aujourd'hui, nous sommes présents pour une Cool Room très particulière. Elle sera en anglais, sous-titrée, si jamais vous ne parlez pas anglais. Aujourd'hui, on accueille Nyck de Vries. How are you doing, Nyck?
Yeah, apologies for having to do it in English and
It's fine.
For the viewers to read the subtitles, but my French isn't quite good enough to.
It is. It is good, but we will do it.
You
in
heard
English.
me talking. I can arrange some problems.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
But a full interview in French might not be sufficient.
It's fine. Thank you for taking the time. We are recording this at the end of the year. How do you plan to spending your time for Christmas and New Year? Now the season is over. What are you going to do?
Yeah, it's been a busy year. Busy last few weeks. We obviously already had our first race of the new Formule E season in Brazil, which went pretty well. And from Brazil, I traveled to Qatar for a test with Toyota. From Qatar, I traveled onwards to Rwanda. And Monday, I was back in Toyota. And tomorrow, I'm going to the Netherlands for 2 days.
You don't stop,
and
basically.
Copenhagen, yeah. But from next Monday onwards, the 23rd, I'll be in Monaco, and I stay here until I'm back in the simulator ahead of Mexico. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next 10 days should be nice.
As you said, you started the Formula E season. It's a bit weird because you start in December and you end during the summer. How was it for you, the first race? You had a pretty bad qualification, but you came back P6 during the race with a great race. How was it for you, and how is the season going? What is the goal for the season?
Yeah, you're right. Qualifying was disappointing, but we had a good race. It was quite chaotic, and I think we managed to capitalize well on other people's misfortune, but also on just executing a good race. This year, there are some kind of changes to the Formula E Championship in the car. It's the Gen 3 Evo, so it's a kind of evolution of the new Gen 3 car, which is quite exciting. The tires are much better and quicker. We have four-wheel drive in attack mode and in the duals, which makes the car quite a bit quicker. And as a team, we are quite excited ahead of the new season as well, because we have our own new powertrain, and we were very much limited by that in the past 2 seasons, and we feel like this is bringing us much closer towards the competition, and we have a much better chance to really fight in top 10, and I think that's the goal. I think the goal, especially for the first couple of races of the year, to try and be consistently in top 10, and then to see where we can progress from there, and also to capitalize on anything that may happen, because Formula E is always a bit...
We will speak about Formula E.
Yeah, of a casino. Yeah.
As you said, so you're driving for Mahindra, for the people who don't follow Formula E. You said now you have the new car, the Evo. Is there a big difference in the driving style between the Gen 3 and Gen 3 Evo for you?
No, I wouldn't say so. I think the biggest difference are the better tires and the four-wheel drive in certain scenarios. So the attack mode and the duels. So when you make it through the groups and qualifying to the duels, the four-wheel drive has a lot more potential, and the car really comes alive and suddenly becomes much more enjoyable to drive. So it does change quite a bit. Yeah.
So we are in the ACM office. You live here in Monaco. You've raced here in a few categories. Can you specify a bit how is the track? What makes it so special for you?
I mean, Monaco is Monaco. I think as you grow up as a young racing driver, you watch Formula One. And if there is one track that will always stick with you, it's Monaco, because it's a very unique venue, a very unique kind of place in the world. And to be racing on the streets here is just something very special. And I think everyone would love to have the opportunity to to race here and yeah, even more so to win and excel here.
You won here in Formula 2.
Yeah, I
did?
did. Yeah, I won a sprint race, a
And a
feature
feature
race.
race, yeah.
And one year I was fighting for the win in the feature race, and then Alex Albon and I crashed in pit entry. So I've had some good years here, or good races. And actually, I've never seen this part of the automobile club.
Really?
No, I'm a member here, but I've never seen the back doors. Only the
front doors.
the restaurant. Yeah.
I have a question because you've drove here in Formula 1 and in Formula E. Do you prefer this track in Formula 1 or Formula E? Because it's two kind of driving style, pretty different, I would say. Which one do you prefer?
I mean, if we purely, it depends what your
I
criteria
want the
is.
driver perspective.
Yeah.
Which one is
So
funnier?
in terms of speed and sensations, driving a Formula 1 car in Monaco feels like you're watching a movie fast forwarded. It's so quick and you got to be so precise. And what you think that there is, let's say, a level of margin, because there is no room for error. So you would imagine people to take a little bit of margin here and there to avoid making a mistake. But as you have 3 free practice sessions and the track is improving every session, everyone keeps chipping away. That by the time you get to qualifying, everyone has kind of pushed the limit so much that it's like driving on a real track. There is no, let's say,
You don't see the
there are
difference.
walls, but everyone pushes the limits like they would do on a permanent track. So very impressive.
So let's talk about yourself. My first question, I think for most of the viewers, is to know a little bit more about you. How did you fall in love with motorsport? I've heard your father used to drive racing cars.
Yes, that's
I'm not wrong.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I guess it came from him, probably. What is the first memories you have from motorsport?
Yeah, my father used to have Renault car dealerships.
Yeah.
He raced at Monaco himself.
Did he?
Yeah.
Did he perform?
Not like me. What did he race? I think I'm certain about the Renault Spider.
Yeah, this is what I have.
Yeah, but I'm not sure. Did the Renault 5 Turbos ever raced in Monaco?
Not sure about that.
No, me neither. Because he raced Renault 5 Turbo,
Okay.
Renault Spider, and Formula Renault. And I know that he raced here at Monaco as well. I was there actually.
So you came to the track with him
Yeah.
while he was driving.
Also, when he was not driving, as a kid, I visited Monaco many times during the Grand Prix. There are many childhood pictures of me, walking around, town. How did I fall in love with the sport? Through my father. When I was born, he obviously had a big passion for cars and racing, and he was very motivated to share that passion with me. So from a young age, he dragged me to the track. He bought a go-kart for me, and that's how things quickly started.
Do you have memories of your first go-kart, trying it for the first time?
Yes, I have. I think there are several. I mean, there are several memories. One of them was that I was more scared than my younger sister, who had no fear and just jumped in and went.
But what age were you at this time?
I think 4 or 5 years old. Yeah.
What age was she?
She's 1 year younger than me. So yeah.
I tried.
Yeah. The first time my dad forgot to inflate the tires, and my sister went, and it was at the parking of his company, and she drove straight into the fence. So that was my sister Dawn. And then my other first time, I think, was also at one of his other companies on the parking lot. We set out a little track, and I was always scared for noise.
Of the engine?
Yeah. The sound was always very intimidating to me.
Yeah.
Not the speed, but the sound. But yeah, that's how it started.
So it's a big thing in your family then? If your sister did it?
I mean,
she didn't. Yeah, she didn't go really far.
She gave me courage. Yeah, no.
It's a big thing you share in the family then.
Yes, yeah.
What did your mom thought about it then?
I think she had little choice.
She didn't have the choice.
No.
Okay.
Dad decided.
Did your dad help you in your career throughout the years? Did he stay with you in the management or helping you in the choices maybe?
I mean, in karting, it's very common, maybe nowadays a little bit less because the karting scene has changed. But when we started, it was very common to do it with your father. So especially, actually my entire go-kart career, my father was very much involved. We had our own van, our own equipment, our own awning. We used to travel always together, go to all the races. Initially, he was my mechanic. Later, he was more the organizer. He was very much involved in the early days. But even now, I wouldn't say that he doesn't visit the races much. But I speak to him almost every day or every other day to share things, discuss things, and just he's always there as a kind of sparring partner.
As you said, you started to do karting throughout Europe, in France, Belgium, Netherlands, Germany, but you were only 9 at this time. How did you deal with school at this time? Were you still going to school? Were you missing some hours maybe?
Up to, let's say I finished primary school, I wouldn't maybe say successfully, but I completed it. And then I started high school, but that was when I started high school in September when I was 12. And then the following year, 2008, I was turning 13. And and I was turning 13, so we had the opportunity to race and compete at an international level everywhere in the world almost. So I started in September, but by the time we got to February, we kind of ran out of my absence days. That was pretty much the end of my school career. We tried making it work, but by law you have to be physically present.
Yeah, of course.
So even though I was doing well at school, my grades were good, but yeah.
Were you studying in Netherlands?
Netherlands, yeah.
There was no like they do now, by Visio. You couldn't do at home.
So initially we wanted me to go to a normal school. Then we realized it was not going to work, and we tried that. Let's say the priority of finishing school became slimmer and slimmer as we were succeeding and winning and performing. But in hindsight, I would never, advise anyone to do that. I think that time it was quite common to jump school. I think many people in Formula 1 now who are from the generation missed a lot of school, but I regret it, yes, but I also know that at the time that was the kind of way we did it.
It was
definitely worth it, but I would never recommend someone to miss.
As you said, in 2008 and 9, you started winning championships in Europe as well. You won 5 championships in 2 years. What memories do you have about karting time? Because usually when we speak to drivers, they're like, this is the best part. It's only racing, no politics, no money. This is where you have the most fun. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, entirely. It was a great time. It was very much our kind of family project. It wasn't just my, let's say, karting career. It was something we did as a family, and it was a lifestyle. We were living pretty much in a motorhome. We rented a small apartment in Italy, which we used mainly in preparation of the season, and we would travel all around Europe and sometimes outside Europe with our little team, with a van, a motorhome. We employed a mechanic, which was with me since 2006 to my end of my karting career. Always had the same mechanic. So we've had a lot of, we have a lot of great memories from that time, because it was very, actually when I look back, abnormal to have 2 children living in a motorhome, going around Europe, no education, and very extreme. But it was a time that I would have never wanted to miss, and I'm very grateful that my father and family was so supportive in that journey. And in terms of the racing, we just lived kind of our best life. We were winning championships every year and winning races, so there was little setbacks in those times.
Do you have some drivers that you remember? Usually, you find between drivers yourself in karting, and then later on you find yourself in Formula 1, Formula E, 24 Hours of Le Mans. Do you remember some drivers meeting drivers in karting that you raced against later on?
My whole career, and especially I would almost say 70 to 60% of the current Formula 1 grid is from probably around my era, maybe because the current Formula 1 drivers are a little bit younger, so some of them were just after me, and some of them I raced against. But yeah, at the end of the day, the motorsport world is very small, and the people that actually get the chance to progress all the way to the top are very few. So yeah, I can name the whole grid and tell you that. Yeah.
I'm curious then, because usually when you listen to people, they say, yeah, you can find which driver is going to make it in karting. What do you think, or what would you say makes a good karting driver, apart from speed, basically? What is the difference between a normal driver in karting and a really good driver that's going to make it? Is it like strategy, overtaking, aggressivity?
It's a good question. I think there is not always a direct correlation between being successful in karting and being successful later on in your career. I think if I'm fully honest to myself, if I look at my karting career, I probably should have been a Formula 1 world champion. That was probably the way people were looking at it, when I was in karting, because that was a very kind of, successful time. Obviously, the speed is very important, but I think the ability to turn that speed into a result. Karting weekends are quite long because you do a lot of practice, a lot of heats, a lot of races before you actually get to the final. So you have a lot of opportunity to grow through a weekend, and I think it's important to have that's what I learned, to have the maturity to accept losing, but having the let's say the longer goal, which is winning the final at the end of the weekend, in mind, and being patient. But for us, it was just our life. We lived racing.
This was a dream for you at this age.
Yes, of course.
You're having fun and you're making a career in motorsport.
And it's still quite playful with all the other drivers on track. You always, after driving, you play football together.
Do you become friends in karting? Or is it more like colleagues?
No, I think at that age you could speak about friendship. At least it's not as cutthroat and as individual as it becomes later, simply because of the age and the playful approach that is there outside the driving base.
So in 2010, you won the FIA World Championship in karting and finished third in the World Cup, FIA World Cup. With those performances, you got approached by McLaren at this time.
Yeah, actually, I already signed with McLaren.
You signed with McLaren that year?
Well, actually, end of 2009.
Okay.
So when in 2009 I was still in juniors, we won the European Championship and all the WSKs, and then basically that winter we signed with McLaren, and in 2010 I was already part of the young driver.
I heard you had also an offer from Red Bull and Ferrari. We're speaking about the academy, of course. Mm-hmm. Why did you choose McLaren? What was the project with you and McLaren at this time?
Yeah, we didn't have a formal offer from Red Bull at the time, but I did met Dr. Marco in Monza to speak about it. But I definitely went to Maranello. I met Stefano Domenicali, who is obviously now boss of the farm. And we had several conversations with other people, but we just felt that the approach McLaren had towards their young driver program was something we felt comfortable with. Hence, we decided to take that direction.
Was it the moment where you thought, okay, this time there's like a Formula 1 team coming to me, it could be like the final boost basically in my career? Or was it more like just...
I mean, final push.
Not the final, but you see what I mean? Like helping you go throughout the series after that.
It was like an acknowledgement that you're on the right track. But I was always very well aware of the fact that, the journey to the final destination, which hopefully would be Formula 1, is still extremely long. And there will be many bumps along the way, and the ride will be, or the journey will be tough. But it was definitely, a good feeling to experience that what we were doing was seen and there was interest.
When you started karting, was Formula 1 like the main target? Were you doing karts to become a pro racing driver? or did it came after with the results you had?
I think Formula One was always my dream. But when I was in karting, it was almost like I loved our life so much that I almost thought I wanted to become a professional karting driver.
All the life.
Yeah, because at the time I was racing against many professional karting drivers, like Ardigo, Forêt, and all these guys that have did it for many years. But obviously Formula One was my goal. But I always focused on the present. I didn't look too far ahead. The goal was there in the future, which gave some direction, but I was always living in the moment.
At this time, Lewis was driving for McLaren. It was just Jensen, I think, in 2010 as well, if I'm not wrong. I think he joined after Brown, yeah.
Yeah.
2009 he was at Brown, in 2010
Yes.
he joined McLaren.
Yeah.
Did you have like contact with the Formula One drivers? How the academy helped you in karting to go and learn quicker maybe?
Back then, I wouldn't say that the academies were as structured as they are today. I mean, I'm very grateful for everything McLaren has done for me in my career. But at the time, it wasn't so, let's say, fine-tuned or let's say...
Well organized.
Well organized. Obviously, over time, especially now that there is someone in charge of an academy, they have a program, they have a plan. There's a bit more of a structure to it. And when I joined, I would say that was not really the case. Of course, I had support in different areas. And of course, if I bumped into the drivers, they were kind enough to speak with me, but it wasn't very structured.
Yeah, okay, I see. So you went back for another season in karting, the last one, won the championship again, and then you started to go in single-seater series in 2012 in Eurocup Formula Renault with RSGP, and you teamed up with Pierre Gasly. First season, pretty decent, a few podiums, twice P2, podium on the first race, P5 for the first season, but you got best rookie in front of Gasly and Ocon. And then next to that, so you were doing two championships.
No, I only did two races in the NEC.
Okay.
I didn't actually race in that championship.
Okay, because you won your first race in single-seater in Assen.
Correct.
How was it for you?
Yeah, we basically competed in the Eurocup and we just did like 3 rounds in the NEC
Yeah.
to gain some extra experience, and that's when I won my first single-seater race in Assen.
At home.
At home, which was really
Special, no?
really special, especially because I was on pole and I completely messed up the start because there was something wrong with the light system, and I dropped back to, I think, P6 or something.
Okay.
So it was very, very nice. I remember my whole family being there, my grandmother, and yeah, it was cool.
It was something
But-
special for the family. I mean,
Yeah,
winning-
it was nice. Yeah, it was nice. Yeah, first year in Formula Renault was good. My first weekend, I actually scored a double podium, but
Yeah.
I lost the podium of the second race because I spun in the warm-up lap.
How do you feel in those moments? First season in single-seater, doing mistakes.
Yeah, I mean,
Happened.
of course, I was very disappointed with myself at the time, but now you look back at them but I still remember them. They are not gone, you know. They are not
in you. They
exactly.
stay here.
Yeah, they stay with me. But yeah, but my first year was decent, as you said. Pierre was my teammate as well. They already did a year in Formula 4.
Yeah.
But my second season, I changed teams, and it took me a while to get up to speed with that team.
Koranen GP.
Yeah. Honestly, before the summer break, I don't think I scored a single point.
You had 2 wins in Hungary and Barcelona.
Yeah, but that was after the summer break.
Oh yeah.
Before the summer break,
Yeah.
I think I didn't score any points. And then after the summer break, an engineer from McLaren joined us and
Rebuild.
supported us a little bit. And that was a strong second part of the season.
This is the question for the people watching, because usually we don't know a lot about like the junior series, how it works. How can you explain that? Going from one team to another, you lose or gain so much in one season. Is it like a difference in the structure? Is it with the engineers, the setup?
If you simplify it, and if you look at Formula One and you see that certain drivers perform very well in certain teams and struggle in other teams, because the car, the team, it might not really, suit driving style, or they are simply not really fitting in the environment, and then sometimes they are excelling and sometimes they are not. In junior single-seaters, it's almost harder because there is much less focus on the car. It's always, you focus much more on the driving and on the kind of development of the driver. But if let's say the setup philosophy of the team doesn't necessarily suit your driving style, it's not easy to have the team trust in you to kind of adapt the car to you and find something that works for you. Plus it takes time, because usually you have very limited winter testing, and you go into the season and then you probably need 2 or 3 weekends or 2 weekends to find out that it's not really working for you. And then you need at least another 2 weekends to find a solution, and the season is already halfway. I mean, look at Prema in Formula 2 this year.
Yeah.
I mean, both drivers
struggling.
Fortunately had their opportunities in Formula 1 because of, a misfortune in Jeddah for Ollie. But I think Kimi's previous track record helped him to get the seat. But it shows that if they didn't have that, they could have easily been, done.
But I'm just thinking, is it easy for you as a driver, because you're still young at this age, you're barely 18, is it easy for you to get your voice heard by the engineers and the team, or they just give you the tools and the car and they say, just drive and get better? Can you improve something yourself as a driver in the team?
Yes, I think you have some influence, and I think that they hear you. But sometimes as a driver at that age, you also don't really know very well how to approach that and how to do that. And you have limited technical knowledge. So it's not straightforward in those junior single-seater categories to come in and do the job.
2014. This one was much better. Still in Eurocup Formula Renault, still with the same team, Quaran and GP. But this time you won the championship far ahead of George Russell. And you also raced in Formula Renault Alps against Charles and win the title. Won 2 titles this year against 2 pretty good drivers. How did you feel at that time? Was it a relief after 2 years and a half?
Yeah, I mean, yes, it was certainly. Obviously, it wasn't ideal to do a 3rd season. I think my 2nd season was especially a bit of a waste in the first half. In the second half of the season, I think we scored most of the points of everyone and 2 wins and pretty much on the podium every weekend. So the second half, I think, proved that actually we should have been a title contender, but McLaren really wanted me to experience the pressure of a championship and to deliver. So we did it, and I'm happy that we succeeded.
Did you feel at that time that you were, because when it's the 3rd year, usually, when maybe not in those categories, but usually when you do 3 years, they're like, okay, maybe it's not gonna make it. Did you feel like you were at the same rank than George, Charles, Pierre, Esteban, or were you still a bit under pressure by being in the 3rd year to be kind of late, let's say?
Well, basically, I fully agree that I was late. Although I think, as I said, in my 2nd year, the second half of the season proved that we were a title contender in the 2nd year. But it's kind of hit or miss then. You have no choice but to do the job, because otherwise, things will end, probably quickly. So in a way, it should give you confidence because you're more experienced, but equally you know that there is no first or second. You just got to kind of do the job then.
You went in 2015 in Formula 3.5, then finished P3 with Dams, and then moved in GP3 with, again, Charles and Alex. It was a good season for you with 2 wins. It was not the best season. You got P6, but you won a few races.
Yeah, I think that the Formula Renault 3.5 year was good. I mean, first year, I think I was rookie of the year and also 3rd in the championship. So that was okay. It was a shame that championship collapsed because that was kind of the equivalent of GP2 at the time. So it would have been kind of nicer if I had the opportunity to move straight to GP2. But at the time, McLaren was struggling. They didn't really have, a lot of budget available for their young driver program. So I ended up quite last minute in GP3 with ART. And I think both ART and I had quite some regrets about that season because we felt there was a lot more potential, but there were many occasions where we felt that I should have scored and we didn't score for either mistakes on my end or technical problems, or we just, like in Budapest, I was on pole, my engine didn't start, and back then with the reverse grid race for the Sunday, the whole weekend is gone.
Yeah, bye.
And then I think in Silverstone I was on the podium with fastest lap. I lost I had a penalty and I lost everything. So there were a lot of kind of occasions where...
How do you feel? Because you're still young and you feel like it's always you're unlucky and...
I never really thought like that. I always try to look at the positives, and I don't think it has any benefit to be feeling sorry for yourself. I mean, life is challenging everyone in different ways at different times, and at that time we were experiencing some bumps in the road, and we had to deal with them.
You were nearly 20. You were over 20 in 16. Mm-hmm. Did you miss a normal life? Because I guess when you're a driver, you have to do a lot of sacrifice, training, moving throughout Europe. Do you miss not having a normal life, let's say? Going to school, going to parties, birthdays, holidays with friends. Did you miss that?
I didn't really know any better. So this was kind of my life. This was what I wanted or what I want. So I never really saw it as a sacrifice because I didn't really know what I was missing. And also, I was... I wouldn't say not interested, but as I knew where I wanted to go, this was the path that I needed to take. I think when things were just becoming a bit difficult, when I had a kind of average season in GP3, struggling to find the budget for Formula 2, struggling, and then I saw my friends going to university and making, let's say, progress in life. Mm-hmm. I was sometimes a bit worried where I was going to go, but. Yeah. In hindsight, I have no regrets.
Were you talking about I guess yes, but were you talking about the racing career you had with your friends?
Yeah, but at the time, racing was just at the beginning that Max went to Formula 1. Formula 1 kind of exploded. So people didn't really know, and I would say if you were in an environment and said that you weren't studying, people would often judge you. Okay. Rather than think it would be, it was cool what you were doing.
So you had sometimes conversation with that. What did they thought about the situation?
As I mean, my close friends knew, but just when you are in new environments and you're all around the table and people are asking us, so what do you study? Well,
I'm not studying.
I just finished primary school. Exactly. Yeah. And I don't judge anyone because probably I would have done the same in their shoes.
No, yeah, of course. But at this age and at this period, as you said, Formula 1 was not as popular as it is today. So it was not maybe as easy for you to speak about it and say, I want to be a racing driver. People could have laughed at you or something like this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
2017, we're moving up the ranks and you've joined Rapax in Formula 2. Was this a mistake?
No, I think this was my lifesaver.
Was it?
Yeah.
Wait, because Rapax was not a great team, let's say, with not a lot of money. The engineers were changing probably 2 races, or around 2 races. They were supposed to go bankrupt, basically.
Yeah.
But you went to this team. How was this?
So at the end of 2016, when my season in GP3 didn't went so well, McLaren withdrew their financial support, so I didn't have any funding anymore, and basically I had no way to go because Formula 2 is expensive, and I didn't have any support, so at least not financially. So I did a DTM test with Audi at the time, which went very well, and I kind of had the seat. But then during the winter, Audi withdrew from
DTM.
From WEC.
Oh, from WEC.
From WEC. So they suddenly had too many drivers in the contract. And then the seat that I was supposed to take was taken by drivers that were still in the contract. So I was kind of, at that point, very committed to go to DTM, which then didn't happen last minute. And then I remember we were skiing during Christmas, and I received an email from basically the GTE team of Ferrari, so in WEC, because Gianmaria Bruni moved from Ferrari to Porsche, and they were looking for a kind of successor. And at the time, I still had nothing. So in February, on my birthday, I remember we were in Vallelunga testing. So in February, I still didn't know. And
or like a month before the season.
Yeah, not even.
So
So we were testing in Vallelunga, and again, the test went well. So they were interested to sign me. And I actually traveled once separately to Maranello to discuss about the contract.
Okay.
And we were talking about the terms. And then I went home, and this was probably 10 days before the first Formula 2 test in Barcelona. And in the meantime, I always stayed in touch with Rapax, and financially they were, in big troubles. And I knew it was a gamble, and I didn't have much funding myself. Ricardo Galal was so kind to help me out, but that was realistically only 1/3 of the budget.
Okay.
So I knew that
it was not going to make it. Basically.
I mean, I knew we were going to start the season, but we were gonna basically run out of money. But then I thought to myself, if I go into if I move away from this path now, I can never come back. And I felt like I was too young to just give up. And I was not ready to give up. So I wanted to take the risk to take this opportunity with both hands and try to make the most of it.
So it was your choice to join Rapax?
Yes.
You wanted to commit to this project?
Yeah. And honestly, these guys were amazing to me. They were like, nobody was getting paid. No, people were just there for me, basically. And because they wanted to be there, and all the parts were out of mileage. And I remember turning up at Bahrain for the first race. I didn't have brakes until late Thursday evening, because they didn't get brakes from the organizer.
How do you
F2.
prepare yourself? You know, you're starting the season, you need confidence in the team and work. How you come on Friday, there's no brakes. How do you feel?
Thursday, yeah.
Thursday, yeah.
I knew what I signed up to, and somehow I felt really much appreciated and valued in this environment. I felt like the team believed in me, and they were behind me. So we were in it together. So honestly, it didn't really feel much as a, let's say, handicap. It just felt like we were in it together, and we were gonna.
Do you think you've learned also as a human person, the mental, basically, being in this situation, it's like do or die? Do you think it helped yourself also to grow mentally?
I think everything that you experience in life, develops you as who you are today. But this process will continue until we pass.
Well,
hopefully very late.
Even with this team, you had some nice results.
Yeah, qualifying we were particularly strong. Yeah.
You had pretty good result for the first half of the season, but then after Hungary, you decided to change team.
Yeah, that wasn't really my decision.
Okay.
It all happened in the week of Spa, so the race, the first race after the summer break. Basically, Rapax just was bankrupt.
Collapse.
And Delatra Louis was racing for racing engineering. They weren't really happy with each other. So basically, F2 orchestrated it in such a way that Louis went to Rapax. Louis was able to bring some, close some debts and pay F2 a little bit of money, and then
And you had your seat.
And I took his seat, in racing engineering.
Okay, so after the season, you finished P7,
not bad.
Which is not bad considering the situation. I got a question more personal. Charles won the championship and went to Formula 1 with Sauber. How did you feel? Because you used to fight with Charles, Alex in the younger categories, and you were competitive. I found some quotes about George. Don't know if you heard about it. That George said you were the guy to beat in karting in a single seater. How did you feel yourself seeing those guys going up the ranks? Pierre, Charles, were you a bit jealous or?
Not at all.
Nope.
They deserved it. They delivered when it mattered, and they earned their own opportunities. And I think Charles was incredible from the moment he moved to cars. I think in karting he was good, but I felt like he won some things, but he didn't win as many championships as perhaps Max, Lando, George, myself. I felt he was always quick, but not always turned it into a result. But when he went into cars, he always delivered, and he did a great job. And his season in Formula 2 was very impressive. His father passing and keeping it together, and honestly, he really deserved it. And I think he's a great driver.
I don't know how you did. I would have been so jealous, beating those guys and not moving up the ranks. I would have been jealous, but you have the good mentality then.
I'm not jealous. And everyone has everyone walks their own path. Every career, every journey is different, and you can't compare one with another. Look at Max. Yeah. He did 1 year Formula 3, went into Formula 1 at 17. Well, I started my first year in Formula Renault at 17. I would have never been ready at that time. Physically, mentally, nothing. And he coped with everything.
You spoke about Formula 2 with Oli, Kimi, and all those drivers. I want your opinion. What do you think about Formula 2 nowadays? Because usually you need to win the championship in Formula 2 to get an opportunity to get in Formula 1. This year we've seen with Kimi, Oli, Jack Doan as well, who didn't win the championship, yet got an opportunity in Formula 1. Do you think the Formula 2 system, let's say, still works?
Yes. Yes, but it's not black and white. And I agree that, let's say 7 years ago, it was the kind of trend, like you won and you
go up.
You go up. But I think the opportunities in Formula 1 are also driven by the driver market in Formula 1. And I think the sport has changed a little bit. There is, the sport is under a big spotlight, media, and people are following it much more. Everyone has an opinion, and I think nowadays it's much quicker. You get an opportunity, but if you don't perform in 5 races, basically
you're gone.
You're gone. So the turnaround is quicker. At the same time, there were drivers that were kind of reaching the end of their careers. So it's just a natural timing thing. Doesn't necessarily have much to do with what happens in Formula 2 itself. It's more the driver market in Formula 1 that decides what is possible or not.
What do you think about Antonelli? He's quite young. He's barely 18.
I love him. I think he's
really?
I've been following him since he was in karting, because he raced for Dino Chiesa like myself. And when I have pictures on my phone that when I joined Mercedes in Formula E, I went to watch some races at Lonato, and we have pictures together. And I always looked young, but he looked
was
like
a kid.
10 at the time. Yeah. No, I think he is a great kid. He is very talented. He lives and breathes racing. Honestly, apart from Max, I don't know anyone who lives racing as much as he does. His father obviously has a team he used GT3 and Formula 4. I mean, he since he was, born, that was what he was going to do.
Do you think the seat he's taking, basically, it's Hamilton's seat, do you think it's a big seat to fill, or he doesn't have to compare himself to what Lewis did?
He just got to be himself. I don't think there is a bigger pressure because Lewis is leaving. First of all, it's Lewis's decision. Lewis left himself, so there was a seat open. He was in the system. He performed extremely well through everything he has done, through karting, single seaters, etc. So he deserved his opportunity, and George is obviously there for quite a while, so he definitely knows what he's doing, but he just needs to give himself the time to get up to speed and learn.
So you said you stopped with McLaren during your program after 16, after 15.
They withdrew their financial support, but I stayed with McLaren until the end of 18.
Okay, until the end of 18. Was it your choice, to stop with them?
I think it was just a natural end of a chapter, basically.
Okay. Did you want to go in another academy straight after?
So I started working with Mercedes afterwards.
Okay, straight after.
Pretty much. Yes.
Pretty much. Okay, because you did 3 seasons in F2. Yeah. 18 was better than the previous one with 3 wins. You won in France.
Yeah.
Hungary, Belgium. You were fighting with George, Norris, and Albon, and
including in Monaco until we crashed.
Until the crash, exactly. Yeah. And then you did the 3rd season with Art GP, and you've joined at this time Mercedes as a development driver, if I'm not wrong. And you were a teammate.
I spent time in a simulator.
Yeah, basically. Can you explain what is the role as a simulator driver, development driver for the team?
Yeah, I mean, it happened kind of. George and I were quite close, and George was obviously moving into Formula One, so there was, they were looking for some additional support in their simulator team. Yeah, nowadays simulators are very much part of the preparation and the testing that is being done prior to racing. Obviously, there are no test teams anymore, so all teams can do is do offline simulations and kind of cross-check it in the simulator to see whether the numbers they have or the numbers they see and get from the simulations make sense. Of course, then you need the correlation from simulator to track, but it's a very important tool for any team across any series to prepare yourself ahead of a weekend.
So it's the 3rd season in F2, and you were a teammate with Nikita Mazepin. Gotta ask, how was he as a teammate?
He was very nice. Yeah. He was very nice. Yeah, I was there thanks to him. I really appreciated the opportunity from Seb Philippe, ART, because we both felt bittersweet about our season in GP3, and we knew that there was more in it in the relationship. So to give me the opportunity again meant that he believed in me, and I felt very much supported within that environment. And I really appreciated the work we did together. And Nikita was a good teammate, professional, worked hard, and did his best.
Were you under pressure that year? Because again, you find yourself doing a 3rd season in F2.
Yeah.
You never felt that pressure being
Of course.
Oh, you did.
I knew that if it was, if I wasn't going to succeed then not only, forget about Formula One, but even my career in racing would be challenging. But sometimes in life you have these moments, and it's you can't avoid the pressure, or you can't avoid having to deliver at a certain time. So it's part of the sport. But,
won the championship at the end. Main target.
Target was accomplished.
Won the championship again with a better season, with 4 wins this time. But this year as well, we lost Antoine in Spa. You took pole that weekend also. How did you feel that day and that weekend? Of course, being as a Formula 2 driver, how did you feel when that happened and you had to go racing the next day?
We didn't race.
No, you didn't, but
no.
How did you feel knowing that you were on the place and with what happened?
Yeah, very surreal. It's, it's very sad to think about it again. Antoine was a very, very nice guy in the paddock. I think very much liked by everyone, talented. He won the Formula 3 season the year prior, and he was on the right track and direction towards his dreams. And then that happened. Of course, no racing driver would even consider such a tragedy. We like to believe that it cannot happen and it doesn't exist, because we have a lot of faith in the evolution of safety. But that day showed that it remains a very dangerous sport. And yeah, I just feel extremely sorry for him, his family, and everyone that had to suffer from the pain. And yeah, thankfully, Formula 2 decided not to race, which I think it was the right decision. But then somehow, yeah, you have to move on and life continues.
Are you scared to go back in the car after that? Do you think about it going back in the car in the next weekend?
So we were racing at Monza the next weekend, and I will admit when I was jumping in FP1, it felt a bit, I don't know.
Right.
Not right, yes. That's the right way of saying it. I didn't know what I was feeling, but it didn't feel nice. But unfortunately, yeah, we are competitors and the next race is awaiting and we need to continue.
You won the championships of that year, 19, and surprisingly, after winning the title, you did not go into Formula 1, but you went to Formula E, which was not new at this time, but still making a lot of noises. It doesn't didn't do on purpose.
No.
So in Formula E, you've joined Mercedes with Stoffel in the 6th season of the championship. So it was brand new for you, but for the team as well. Why did you join Formula E? Was it your choice? Did you wanted to try and go fight in this championship, or did you go because Mercedes got an offer for you in Formula E?
Well, I was already working with Mercedes at the time on the background, and I was very realistic and honest, and I didn't see any opportunity in Formula 1. I mean, the year prior, 3 drivers promoted, George, Lando, and Alex. So I didn't really see an opportunity for me in Formula 1, and I was working together with Mercedes. They were building this project in Formula E. Formula E was experiencing a lot of momentum at the time. I think electrification was a very popular theme at that time. So yeah, I believe that was the right step or the next step in my career at the time, and I'm very happy with the decision.
Was it
I
hard
took
to drive? Because when you go to F2, then to Formula E, it's not the same driving style.
Yeah, it definitely required some adaptation. Mercedes was a very good team.
Yeah.
They were very well prepared. They had a good package, and they gave me the time to get up to speed. But it was certainly different than what I was used to before.
What is the hardest thing when you drive like F2 cars? Basically, you go flat out and you try to go as fast as you can. In Formula E, I guess there's the managing process, let's say. What is the hardest thing you have to do in the car while driving in Formula E?
Yeah, in the race, you're very right. Obviously, the racing is very different. You have to manage a lot of different things and try and race at the same time. But actually qualifying and in practice, when you do push laps, it's no different than any other racing car. Of course, the feelings are a bit different. The limits are lower, but I would say the same principles matter.
And the tracks are different also.
Yeah, at the time we had still a lot of street circuits. Yeah.
Did you enjoy them?
Yeah, I really enjoyed them. I thought they were cool. The second race at the time was in Chile.
Yeah.
We never went back, but I loved that weekend and that track. So
bumpy tracks.
Yeah, very bumpy. they are all very temporary. I think Formula E is just a different championship.
Would you like to go, now you do, but would you like to go even more frequently on normal racing track?
Well, it's kind of evolving in that direction.
You did China last year, no?
Yes, China, Portland, Misano. It's obviously a cost matter because organizing races in the city center is very expensive. But also the cars are becoming quicker and quicker, and we also need to consider the safety aspect, and it's becoming more challenging to stick to those temporary tracks.
So that year was also disturbed by COVID-19. How did you manage your time? Because normal racing, stuck at home. Do you remember what you did at this time?
Yeah, I was stuck here.
Such a bad place to be stuck.
well, I mean, we live in small places, and we couldn't go really
go
anywhere.
out.
At the time, Formule E kind of created this virtual championship.
I was going to ask.
Yeah, I have a lot of great memories from that.
Did you enjoy that?
No, no.
Better stick with the real cars.
Honestly, I prefer real life, and some people really enjoyed COVID. I did not. I honestly, I'm a very positive person, but I don't really see many positives that I had during that time. There was no racing, everything was stopped, and nothing was moving forward. We lost our freedom. There was a lot of bureaucracy, which made everything very complicated. Yeah.
Not ideal.
No.
But you came back to racing in Formula E, and I got a question. So, looking at your championship, the season you did, for the second season you ended up P11 in the championship. Next year you won the championship, and then you finished P9 in the next season. How do you explain that throughout the different season, the places and the position you finish the championship can move so much?
I think my second season deserved more than P11.
Yeah, that's my second question.
Yeah.
Is how strong is the field? Because it's really tight, and finishing P11 doesn't mean you're far behind the guys in front.
No, and I mean, in second race of the year, I was already on the podium, supposed to be on the podium, but we had a battery, I think, cooling infringement on the grid, which gave me a penalty. Then before COVID in Marrakesh, I was P2, and then we had a power overshoot, and I had a drive-through penalty, and there were many things like that.
Yeah.
So I think my first season was deserved more than that. But ultimately, the races are a little bit chaotic. There's a little bit of not a little bit. It's very unpredictable, chaotic. I would say over the years it's become more, let's say, on merit. But in those years with this qualifying format, where you qualified in 4 different groups, and when you were in front of the championship, you were always in the first group. And the track evolution was always huge. So basically, when you were doing well at the beginning, you were going to be demoted, and that's how you were kind of rotating through the championship. So those years, it was very tough to be consistent in the front.
Do you think the field in Formula E is really that strong? Because when you won the championship and most of the season, there's like a lot of winners, there's a lot of fights. Everyone nearly can win a race throughout the season. How do you see the field in Formula E?
Extremely competitive. Also the teams nowadays, they're all very professional, all operating at a very high level. It's a part that I enjoy very much in Formula E because it's very technical, innovative, and just very professional. And also the drivers, I mean, everyone that is there has achieved great things in their career in either Formula 1 or Formula E, WEC, or anywhere else. They've achieved and accomplished big things. So the championship and the competition is strong.
And you won that championship with Mercedes. So 4 podiums that season, 2 wins, 1 pole, 2 DNF at Rome. What do you remember of this season? If you had to pick one moment of your winning season.
I mean, in honesty, the way I was describing it, it was like I was chosen to win that championship. It was so...
It was a crazy finale.
Yeah. The final race of the season was crazy, but just the whole season, I remember always fighting these qualifying groups. You had a good weekend, you moved in top 6, and you dropped out, and it was a real headache. And I thought that going into the last race leading was going to be a real disadvantage because it would mean in both qualifyings I would be in Group 1. But with all the drama, we still came away with the championship. So, grateful.
Did you get other opportunities after winning that title? Because, of course, there's the Formula E championship, but we know that there's other series. Did you want to stay in Formula E and focus and go for more? Or did you want to try and go test other series like Formula 1, Le Mans, WEC?
I mean, I was already since 2018. I was active in WEC and endurance racing with racing team the Netherlands. So that was always kind of part of my racing program, even when I was doing Formule E. And then by being part of Mercedes, we got some involvement in the Formula One team. I did my first test, and then somehow Formula One came a little bit back on my path.
And it happened in 2022 when you had, so you were driving, now we need to speak about this first. You used to drive for 3 different teams in the same season in 2022. You were with Mercedes.
Yeah.
You were with Aston Martin.
Aston and Williams.
And Williams. You get to drive in the Aston on the Friday.
Yep.
In Monza in 2022. So you are driving instead of Sebastian in FP1. And then, so Alex has his appendix, and you get to replace him for the rest of the weekend. How did you learn about that news? Who called you? How did that happen?
It happened on Saturday morning. I was very relaxed on track. I was in the pedal club for an appearance, and it was very quiet because it was early in the morning. So I ordered a coffee, and then James Wiles was calling, and I had to come ASAP to the hospitality because I might be driving, and it was all a bit overwhelming because I was like, wow, we had some conversations earlier, but
not now.
But not now, exactly. I was rushing to the Mercedes engineering truck, and they were all there, and basically it was already done that I was gonna drive that weekend, and all the engineers are like cheering and like
this is the party.
Not cheering, like wishing me luck and cheering. Yeah. I was like, okay, so I'm heading down.
Were you ready? Like, did you have the suit and all that?
Everything was at Williams.
Okay.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So I walked to Williams, and then I entered the engineering truck there, and basically that weekend I didn't left that truck anymore. Really? Because I went there on Saturday morning, and just before FP3 I missed half of it because they were still sorting out the pedals and everything. So I did FP3 and then straight into qualifying, but there was so much to go through that basically I honestly didn't leave the engineering truck or the garage. And the rest is kind of history.
We got P13 in qualification, beat Latifi, then got to P8 on the grid. You were on the next
to Max.
Yeah, next to Max.
Yeah.
And you never raced against Max.
Correct, yeah.
This is quite surprising. Did you speak to him by being the 2 Dutch drivers on the grid?
I mean, we know each other since we were kids, so we were texting in the evening about
Don't crash me tomorrow.
And on the grid, we saw each other again, and he had nice and encouraging words. So it was very special that it had to happen there. Because my father was actually in Monaco that weekend, so he drove on Saturday night to Monza with someone else's car, because I obviously had my car that I took to drive there. And then on my debut I happened to start next to Max and everything. It was a nice story.
It was a hard race for you because after the race you could barely get out of the car. How did you feel for that first race in Formula One?
Everything went so quick that I couldn't really think. Which was almost a benefit. I would not have done it differently. Obviously, you could argue, would you be better prepared if you knew in advance? But honestly, I think it was a benefit for me to just be thrown in it and not have the opportunity to think.
How is Monza driving? Because you go to Formula E tracks, which are street circuits. You go to Monza, which is a really high-speed track. Were you having difficulties to adapt to this track, even though you drove here in Formula 2 and other series before?
I mean, Formula 1 is
Formula 1.
Exactly, yes. I think that requires most of the adaptation. I was still racing in WEC at the same time, but Formula E was my main series, and of course it was different, but I did some FP1s and I was somehow prepared.
In the same year, at the end of the year, you nearly replaced Norris, I think, in Brazil, who was ill also. After what happened in Monza, of course, there must have been some talks in Formula One. Do you know, how did you feel not having serious talks, or did you have talks with Williams because they were looking to change Latifi at this time. With what you've done with their car, maybe you could have been a good option for them. Did you have talks with them first?
Yeah, but certainly, and I think the team was very, let's say, keen to have me in the car the following year. But the ownership was or is American, and they were very pro having an American driver in the car. So even though I was hoping to get an opportunity there, it appeared to be difficult and impossible because simply the ownership wanted an American driver.
Did you used to talk with F1 drivers like George or Lando, I don't know, about your situation?
No, not very much. I just after Monza went for dinner with Max on the Monday evening here, and we talked about it briefly. But everyone kind of walks their own path, and when it comes to their careers, you share maybe afterwards, but when you're in the moment, you kind of have to try and figure it out yourself.
Well, you figured it out because in 2023, you went to AlphaTauri to replace Pierre Gasly, who then went to Alpine. First question, how did that happen? You were not linked to Red Bull in any way at that time, if I'm right.
No, I mean, Pierre is obviously managed by Guillaume.
Yep.
So that came in very handy, and I started working with Guillaume as well. So it was kind of a nice coincidence that through Guillaume it all kind of fell into place, and I guess Alpine was keen on Pierre, and that became an opportunity for me at AlphaTauri.
Who did call you? Did you have like Dr. Marco calling you to announce that, or?
I mean,
for the AlphaTauri seat,
I prefer not going in the full
detail
of everything. No.
Yeah, but it happened. That's
exactly
the most important. You had your drive in Formula One. The season didn't go, I think, as you wanted, of course. How did you feel for the first? So you did 10 races. How did you feel during those 10 races yourself?
Yeah, it was very challenging. I guess I didn't really come up to speed quick enough. I think there were some situations where the coin could have easily, went into my favor, but it didn't. In a couple of situations where I could have maybe scored a decent result, and ultimately, let's say my bosses didn't think it was good enough for the time that I was there, and they decided to replace me. I mean, it was a challenging time because there were a lot of talks publicly about it, and I wasn't really aware of anything. At least there wasn't really much of a dialogue with me personally. So you pick up everything through the media, and then during Formula One weekends you speak a lot to the media. So basically every weekend since maybe my second weekend, I just arrived and I had to answer questions about my future, which felt a little bit out of place, but that's how it went, or how it can go, and how it went. It was just difficult to be able to excel at your best when you experience this kind of pressure and what is the opposite of momentum? Let's say when you experience a lot of headwind from every direction.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And that was challenging, but I have no hard feelings towards anyone. I mean, I'm grateful for the opportunity that they have given me. I was able to kind of fulfill my childhood dream. It didn't work out. It became a short chapter in my career. I would say I was very grateful and lucky that I had the chance to build a career before Formula One. Because sometimes it happens that drivers promote to Formula One and then it ends quickly or prematurely, and then they don't really have anything to fall back to. But I think I consider myself lucky that I already spent time in Formula E and in WEC, which made the transition back to those championships, I would say, more straightforward.
As a driver, how do you, can you just describe it to the people? The media, as you said, there's a lot of talks, especially in Formula One. We see the situation now with Sergio Perez throughout the season. How do you feel as a driver when you hear the names, when you hear the stories? There's fake news, there are probably true stories as well. How did you feel yourself during that time?
Well, you obviously have the media, so you have external kind of pressure, but you also have internal pressure, and every team deals with that differently. So when you have both, it becomes basically double up.
Does it get to your head basically when you're driving, when you're in the paddock? Do you feel even more under pressure?
I think it does, because everywhere you are, you almost feel like they look at you and they, I wouldn't say attack you, but you feel that they write and talk about it 24/7. So when you are walking in the paddock, when you are moving within that ecosystem, obviously everyone knows about it, and you can't hide from it, even though you would like to. There is no way to escape. The way I tried to deal with it was just to ignore it and not to read anything. I just stopped reading any news, but you still kind of know it's there.
How was the relation with Yuki? Because he was younger than you, but had more experience in Formula One. How was the relationship between you two as a driver?
I mean, Yuki did a great job. It was his third season, I think, with the team.
Yep.
He had a good amount of experience. He was very quick, very talented, knew very well how to kind of extract the maximum out of that car. Yeah, he was very friendly to me. I think there was a mutual respect, but you don't really get a lot of time to hang out with each other or to build much of a relationship, because everyone kind of lives their own life.
When the news got out, so you said you learned it basically, I guess you learned it in the news that Daniel was taking your seats? Or did you have a phone call or someone told you?
Guillaume called.
Yeah, Guillaume called you basically to tell you. How important was the family there? Because I think for you, of course, it's a hard moment, I guess, as a driver. How did you overcome that mentally, and how important was your family at this moment?
It was kind of painful to lose out on something that you've been dreaming of for so long, so quickly, and prematurely. So it did. I felt hurt, but equally in a way a little bit relieved, because since probably the second weekend, you know, these conversations were in the air. So they were, every time you come to the track, you have to talk about it, which just didn't help me to excel at my best. And then, yeah, my family was there. My friends have been very supportive here and at home. And honestly, I just decided to just switch off from it a little bit and go and enjoy myself differently and come back to racing, obviously.
You went to Harvard after that.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I did an executive program at Harvard, so it was nothing major. Also because I still didn't really have the time for it, even though I wasn't racing. I was obviously sorting out my future in Formule E and WEC. We started testing in probably September. So actually my downtime was not that long.
But did you get like a diploma in Harvard or?
No, it's like a certificate.
Okay.
Basically, Toto advised me to do it. We had a coffee together, and quite a few people that work closely with him did this specific executive program. So I had time on my hands, and I've always been very curious, and somehow I have some regrets not being able to, or not having really had the time and chance to study or finish education. So I thought it was a good idea to do, and a good experience to see whether in the future I maybe want to go for a proper bachelor's or whatever I feel like in the future might help me.
You've talked about Toto being a Mercedes driver at the time. Maybe you had to speak with him, I guess. Did you have time, or did you get the opportunity to talk about the future and what you wanted to do at Mercedes with him? Or was it with other guys from the academy?
When was this?
When you were in the Mercedes academy, when you were the development driver.
Yes.
Did you get some time to talk with him?
Oh yeah, many times.
He has a huge influence, of course, in motorsport. He has a lot of experience, and he did also some degrees and diploma in this area. Did you have time to speak about the career?
As a
basically?
career, yeah, of course. I mean, when I was at Mercedes, we had a very good relationship and we lived very near each other. So we bump into each other a lot at the same coffee place, and I felt very much part of the Mercedes family. So he was a great support and supporter, and was always there to listen and to help and to give advice. So certainly he has been very good for me.
Do you still have the Formula One door open if the opportunity arrives in the future?
I definitely have a different feeling towards it now than I had before doing it. Before I actually got the opportunity to do it, it was still, a dream that wasn't fulfilled and still something that every racing driver wants to accomplish and achieve in his career. But for me now, I feel like there's a new generation below me. I had my opportunity, it didn't work out. I accept that, we move on. I'm currently really enjoying the racing that I get to do in WEC and Formule E. I'm very happy with the program and the teams that I get to race for. So it's not, let's say, a very present,
Not as
objective.
attractive as it was.
No, I mean, of course, it's the pinnacle of our sport. But let's say I'm not desperate anymore.
Okay, and as you said, you're racing now in WEC. You've been for a long time. We've spoke about it. Since 2018, you started in LMP2 with Team Netherlands. Was it something you wanted to try back in the days? Endurance is way different than what you used to do. How did it come up?
Yeah, I think it was. I was one of the only ones that started to combine endurance racing with Formula 2 so early. But I always had a great interest for endurance racing, and I always kind of had an interest to be there and to see if there could be a future for me in WEC and endurance racing. And actually, I've been with Toyota since 2020 already.
Yep.
So when I joined Mercedes and Formule E, I kind of joined Toyota at the same time. And they've been, also very supportive after F1 and during and prior. So I think joining WEC in 18 actually helped me to excel better in Formula 2, because I'm kind of a perfectionist, and I always like everything to be perfect, but nothing is ever perfect. And sometimes you just have to accept that it is what it is. And I struggled with that in my early years, that I always wanted something to be perfect, and otherwise I was kind of distracted or disturbed, and I couldn't find a way to get on with it. And in endurance racing, you always need to find compromises, because you're with 3 drivers, nothing is ever perfect.
Never perfect.
No.
Yeah.
So it really helped me to kind of get on with whatever I had in the moment. And it helped me to prioritize things better and to organize, to just, I would say, get on with the job without being influenced or disturbed when things are not quite how you like them to.
So you won in LMP2 in 2019 in Fuji, 2 podiums in 2020 and 2021. And then you moved to Toyota in the first place as a reserve driver, if I'm not wrong. Is it like in Formula 1, so you get to do simulator and test drives for them?
I would say it was even more. They integrated me really within the team, like during all pretty much all the tests they were doing. I obviously didn't race the car, but it was clearly a common goal to prepare me
for the next chapter.
to race for them in the near future.
And it is what happened, because now you're driving with them in hypercar. How is it to drive an hypercar? How powerful is it?
I'm especially grateful to be part of such a successful team. Toyota has won everything in the past decade, and everyone is from the highest level, and they've accomplished a lot together. So there is obviously there are high expectations, and we want to make sure that we continue that momentum forward in the future. But to be part of such a successful team is just a privilege, and I think the first season we experienced together was good. could have always been better. We missed out on Le Mans and the driver championship, but we were in the fight and we were there. And I'm looking forward to the years to come with them.
How is the driving style? How much different is it to single-seater series?
I actually think an LMP2 car is probably closer to a single-seater than a hypercar. The hypercars are a little bit different. I would say they are almost like a fast GT.
Okay.
So the driving style is a bit more, basically you have less downforce, so you just need to, you can't always attack in the same way as you're used to. But the racing is great. I mean, there are so many manufacturers. The competition is very high, and to be fighting for Le Mans with so many different brands and such good teams is just
For the driver, it's exciting.
Yeah.
We had Bremy on this show a few months ago, and I asked him the same question. How hard is it to balance two series like you do, Formula E and WEC? Is it hard to find the good agenda to do the simulation, practice driving, training physically, the family side also?
I mean, you say that, but then combined, I'm doing 18 weekends while a Formula One season counts 24. So
it's not
it's not that busy in the end.
Yeah.
And also, any other sport, football, tennis, golf, athletes practice their sport every day on the football pitch, on the tennis court, on the golf course, and we never get to drive except race weekends. So I actually think it's a huge benefit to be involved in two different championships, because it gives me the opportunity to practice my skills, to be involved in my sport, to learn in different series, which is always useful to kind of use in different cars and different championships. So I think it's a benefit.
If the two championships collides in terms of calendar, how do you do? Is that one championship? I think Seb told us that the Toyota contract goes over the Formula E one. So if there's a Formula E race and a WEC race,
I mean, we never know if there is one. The calendars are always very dynamic in Formula E, so we deal with it when it comes.
Okay, how important is it to get along with the teammates? Because in endurance, you are three in the cars. I guess you better have a good relation between all of you. How important is it, and how is your relation with your teammates?
I think it's very important and crucial to be a team player and to understand that it's always about the team's interest and not about individual ambitions. And I think that's very important to understand, and it needs to be kind of part of your approach to be that team player. And I actually very enjoy that part of WEC and endurance racing, because I personally think, winning and losing is nicer to do together than alone. So to share that kind of success or disappointment together is a different but nice experience. And I'm very happy with both my teammates in WEC. Kamui has had a very successful career in Formula One. I remember watching him scoring his podium in Suzuka in Japan in 2010, if I'm not mistaken.
Was it? Yeah, I think it's 10 or 11.
10 or 11 when Jensen was chasing him in the last laps, and very, very talented driver. And Mike obviously raced in IndyCar and has won everything in endurance racing. Very solid and quick driver. So I feel like we make a very strong team, and I really enjoy working together with the two of them.
How did you like the Le Mans personally?
I mean, this year with the rain and everything.
Yeah. It was a really, really busy race this year. But personally, driving Le Mans, you've done it for now 6 years, 6th edition if I'm not wrong. How do you feel on the track? Is it the best track in the world?
Yeah, it's a kind of mixture between a street track and a real racing track. And everything about this race is just special. And I certainly have that very high on my bucket list, winning Le Mans, and being in a position to fight for Le Mans now with Toyota is a unique opportunity, and I hope that we succeed in the years to come.
I was going to ask what is the objective for next year. I guess it's winning. Good question. Would you rather win Le Mans or the championship? Toyota is not listening. Don't worry.
No, I mean, it's always yeah.
Tough question.
Tough question.
Joker.
I would say, Joker. First of all, we don't have the choice.
Yeah.
So it's an unrealistic question anyway.
Yeah.
But I would say winning Le Mans is definitely
it's
something
the
I
target
want to
for
achieve.
next year.
Yeah.
It is it.
Yeah.
Next year, the objective with the team, of course, going back to win the title, I guess, also with your teammates for next year. And then in Formula E also, the season has started. When this episode will go out, it's at the end of January. So I think it's after Brazil, if I'm not wrong.
Brazil after Mexico.
After Mexico.
Yeah, because Brazil just happened.
Yeah, exactly. So you can follow, of course, everything that Nyck is doing on track. I still have a few questions.
Okay.
Which in French is the bol aux questions. First question, so you have time to reflect and answer. It's not short answer. What is the best memory you have in motorsport, and explain why? You must choose one. Come on, Nyck.
Yeah, Monza 22.
Was it in Formula One?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where was that?
Because it was it was ultimately my dream, our lifetime goal almost, and that day it became reality for once. Having my father there to be able to share that moment with me was something very special and emotional for me. I remember on Sunday morning I got to the track, and my dad obviously drove the night to Monza, and as he is Dutch and punctual, he's always early. So on Sunday morning, I got to the track, and he was already there before I was there. And there was this little kind of coffee place, or I think maybe it was a Heineken bar, but obviously they weren't serving beer
8 o'clock.
at 9 o'clock in the morning. But I remember, seeing my father, and I hugged him, and we both couldn't exchange a word, because we were both just too kind of emotional in that moment. And on the grid, my dad was there, and he was proudly standing next to the car, and Viaplay interviewed him, which is the Dutch broadcaster, and I remember seeing it afterwards, but basically he was crying on Dutch television. Just having had the opportunity to share that with him is something that sticks for me for life, and that I'm very, very grateful for, because he has been the driver behind everything. He got me into the sport. He always supported me. He sacrificed everything for me. And to have him there in that moment was my nicest memory.
I think you answered the second question then. Is there someone who had a big impact on your life or career, and what did he do to be that person? Yeah. It is your dad.
Yeah, but there are many people that have been very important for me in my career. In karting, Dino Chiesa was obviously, I would say, my second father. I spent my entire karting career with him. Through the ranks, you have different team bosses and people that matter a lot. I mean, McLaren has meant a lot in my career, because they've supported me from a very young age. In a later stage, it was Mercedes, Sepp Philippe at ART. Yeah, I mean, it can go on forever, but everyone had its contribution.
Looking back at all the things you've done in your career, is there anything you would like to change or try differently? Could go to karting, Formula One, GP3, 2.
Actually not.
You wouldn't change anything?
No.
Do you believe...
Just as we discussed earlier, it's funny, but I still remember the wins and podiums I've missed for stupid reasons, or mistakes, technical problems, or whatever. So somehow they are part of, like, I never won a World Cup in karting. I won a European Championship, 2 World Championships, and all the WSKs many times. But the World Cup, I only did 2 World Cups. One I finished third, and one we won everything that weekend in 2009. everything. We were completely dominating, and then for the final we changed the engine because we were scared that there was an issue. We forgot, or we didn't realize that it had a different sprocket on the engine. So basically the gear ratio was completely off.
Yeah.
In Sarno that year, I remember. Anyway, those moments, or my first Formula E 3.5 race, I led the entire race at the drying track, and in the last corner I got overtaken. First race in 3.5.
That's crazy. You remember all those things.
Monza here with Alex, or leading in Formula 2 the entire race, and then I crashed with Charles in Monza in the final lap. Like,
you remember
all these kind of things. All these kind of things I remember for some reason.
So you wouldn't change them, okay? It's good to know. What is your safe place? What do you do, or how do you do when you just want to take some time off racing? Where do you go, and what's the schedules?
Home in Monaco. I honestly love being here, living here. I'm really kind of well integrated among, just the community socially, but also how I enjoy myself here. So being home here and playing golf.
Golf. Are you good at golf?
No, not at all.
I'm not better, don't worry.
No one is ever good at golf. I mean, when you think you understand, you don't.
Last question. Do you still find time for your close friends and family with the schedules you have? I'm guessing they do not live here,
No.
most of them, sorry. Do you have time to go and visit them?
I don't go back very often.
And there's a second part of the question, is that would you want to go to see them more?
Well, I don't want to come across wrongly, but you obviously go through different phases in life, and I think when I moved here, that was a new chapter in my life, building my own life. It was the first time I moved out of the house, and as you live in a different country, you build your life in a different place. So it's not that I don't miss my family and friends in the Netherlands, but you somehow start to have a new life here. So I don't get the opportunity to go back often, actually rarely, almost not at all. Of course, what I sometimes wish is to go back in time.
Okay.
To live the same moments I used to live with them when I was living at home, and when things were still a bit different, when we were all younger, and we were having fun doing the things we used to do together. But now everyone's life has evolved in different directions. Also, my friends don't live at home anymore. So whenever you come together, it's still the same, but it's not the same.
All right. We have the last part of this interview. Sorry. It is en un mot, one word.
Okay.
You'll have 60 seconds to answer as much question as you can.
Is it a competition?
It is not a competition.
Okay.
I don't know who.
I
don't know who did the best results. Maybe Formo in WRC did great because he did all the questions I had. Okay. I have 16 questions if you want to know. Okay. You have a joker.
So it's 3 seconds per question.
Yeah. If there's a question you don't want to answer, you can skip it. Are you ready?
Go ahead.
I am not. All right. There you go. Are you ready?
Yes.
The best car you've ever driven?
My Mini Milk.
Winning Le Mans or a Formula 1 title?
Formula 1 title.
Lewis Hamilton or Max Verstappen?
Joker.
What is your favorite track?
Spa.
Does Nyck de Vries have a hidden hobby?
No, because you know.
How many points do you have on your driving license?
I don't think we have points here.
Oh.
I have a Monegasque license.
So you never got tickets, let's say.
I do, but...
okay, no points, let's say.
Okay. You're costing me time here.
Yeah. What is your favorite song?
Wonderwall.
Who was your idol when you were younger?
In racing, or?
Yeah.
I had many different idols.
This one.
I grew up with Lewis.
Are you good at cooking?
I'm decent.
Decent. Okay. Last question I need to ask. Which cars the Disney movie is your favorite?
Which Disney?
Cars. You know the movie Flash
Yes.
McQueen. Cars 1, 2, or 3?
Which movie I was the best one?
Yeah, out of the 3.
I'm not sure if I watched all 3. I didn't even know there were 3.
Ay.
No.
Mamma mia.
I watched 1, I guess.
So let's say 1.
Yeah, let's say
Which is
1.
the good answer.
Okay.
Okay, you did well. You did well.
Okay.
We had some good questions. Did you have? No, that's a good question about the idols. Did you have idols growing up?
Yeah, but I always, my idols were the people that were a year ahead of me.
Okay.
So when I was in karting, I was looking up to whoever was in front of me in karting, performing well. Or when I was in Formula Renault, I would look at people in Formula 3 or GP2. So I never looked that far ahead. They were my idols. I always feel inspired, or I always felt inspired by Dutch speed skaters, because that's our most successful discipline at the Olympics.
Yeah.
And they all kind of train near where I was born and raised. And I feel like their work ethic was, or is, very impressive. But like, I wouldn't have posters on my room of.
Okay. Well, we done it all. Thank you very much, Nyck,
You're
for
very
taking
welcome.
the time. I hope my accent was not that bad. Merci à tout le monde, du coup, tous ceux qui ont suivi cet entretien. J'espère qu'il vous aura plu. Tous les réseaux de Nyck seront dans la description, bien évidemment. N'hésitez pas à aller le suivre pour cette saison. On remercie aussi, bien évidemment, l'Automobile Club de Monaco pour le lieu. J'espère qu'il vous aura plu. N'oubliez pas, vous aurez aussi le lien dans la description pour voir les différents événements de l'Automobile Club de Monaco, entre le e-prix, la Formule 1, le rallye historique. N'oubliez pas que toutes nos vidéos sont sur les plateformes de streaming et on se retrouve très bientôt pour une prochaine Cool Room. Merci encore, Nyck. À très vite. Merci à tous.